In his news conference yesterday, President-elect Trump claimed U.S. officials know more about those mysterious drone sightings than they are willing to say publicly.
They don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense.
Intriguing remarks there, as hundreds of drone sightings have been reported in at least 6 states now, and the FBI has received more than 5,000, at latest count, tips on reported drones in just the past few weeks. So what does the government know? Earlier this morning, we spoke with White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby. Admiral, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, you bet. Good to be with you, Tony.
So what is President-elect Donald Trump talking about? What does the government know?
Well, what I can tell you, and what we've been telling the press here over the last 24 hours or so, is that after looking at those 5,000 tips, many of them were able to be explained. There's about 100 or so leads that the FBI is still following up on. But after all that analysis over the last several days, we believe that the vast majority of these drones, of these sightings, represent commercial drones, law enforcement drones, hobbyists, and of course, as I've said before, civil aviation aircraft. There's absolutely no indication at this point that there's a national security threat or a public security threat based on what we know today.
When you list the concerns, the worries, what are your greatest concerns about what these drones, particularly the 100 or so that haven't been explained, what might they be?
Well, we don't know what they could be, so I don't want to hypothesize or speculate here while the investigators are still looking at it. But obviously, the two biggest worries would be a national security threat, some sort of intelligence collection process in place, or some foreign actor that might be trying to glean information from our military sites or perhaps damage them, or a public safety threat. Anything that would harm or potentially harm people on the ground.
You know, Admiral, these states where the drones are flying and where they've been reported have a lot of sensitive sites, infrastructure, military bases. And there was an incident a year ago where for 17 days in a row, according to on-the-record interviews with military personnel, swarms of drones were seen over the Air Force Base Langley on the Virginia shore. We've got Naval Station Norfolk there. SEAL Team 6 is based there. Those have yet to be explained as well. That's concerning for people. When you hear that, what do you think about these latest sightings?
I think we need to be careful that we don't conflate the two, Tony. I mean, the vast majority of the sightings that we are hearing about and the reports that are being made are really over civilian neighborhoods and towns and cities. There is still a valid concern over U.S. military bases and infrastructures and facilities throughout the country. And there have been sightings and reportings of unmanned systems flying in or near or even around that restricted airspace. And that is something that the Defense Department takes very seriously. But that is a separate issue that obviously
Admiral,
we're working on very hard.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because it raises questions about whether we have gaps in our air security over the U.S., whether we have control of our airspace. And since you mentioned federal law, one of the issues is that currently law enforcement and the military do not have authorization to shoot down a drone, even when it's over a sensitive military or infrastructure site. Does that law need to change?
We do believe that we need better authorities to close some of the gaps and seams that you're highlighting, and they are real. And there are gaps and seams between the federal government and state governments. There's gaps and seams even inside our own interagency. And one of the things that President Biden is calling for is a bipartisan commission on Capitol Hill to take a look at this. We have proposed legislation to Capitol Hill to try to close some of those gaps, to give us some new authorities that we need to deal with this brand new ecosystem of drones, and it has not gotten through. So we definitely need congressional help on this.
Admiral, thank you very much.
You bet.